I want to welcome everybody to the Audit and Finance Committee meeting. We have a pretty involved agenda. I'd like to tell everybody that this past week I came up and met with Linda, Scott, and Brian to go over this in more detail. Some of the approvals that the authority is going to need. So at this point, what I'd like to do, I'd like to turn this over to Linda Beata for our discussion on our finance report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to start with the statement of net position. Thanks, Chris. So as of 12/31/20, on our statement of net position, our quick ratio is 3.26. This is a big improvement since March 31st, 2020. And what it really means is that the authority has over $3.26 in current assets to pay for every $1 in current liabilities. When you look at the statement, comparing it to our 3/31/20 balance, you can see our cash and cash equivalents has increased. That's mainly due to our the mortgage tax receipts and our CARES Act funding. The trade accounts receivable, it's much lower, and that's due to the fact that all the contract cuts and service cuts. The mortgage tax has a $1.3 million change. That's due to the current market trends. The only other notable thing is under the grants receivable, it's at $3.7 million right now. Most of that, $2 million of that was already drawn down in January, and Melissa's already put out another $1 million request in state funding, which should be coming shortly as well.
Linda, can you emphasize a little bit, because when I saw those numbers for the mortgage tax, my heart's still palpitating. Can you talk a little bit like that, about that number?
Sure. December was another record month for the authority. We had 1.7 million in receipts. 1.3 of that was in Onondaga County. We think that is due to possibly the Amazon building, but we don't have any documentation of that, but that would be our assumption.
As we are moving this year, this is probably going to be a record year for the mortgage tax for the authority.
Yeah. We've already exceeded our budget, and we're only 9 months in. Other than that, someone tried to talk. That's all I was really going to point out on the statement of net position. So we can move into the next statement, Chris, P&L.
Which one would you title it?
Statement of revenues and expenditures. So as of December 31st, we have a $5.1 million gain. Revenues and expenses are still trending the same as prior months. It's pretty consistent. 55% under in revenues and a little over 11% under in expenses. And as you can see, our mortgage reporting tax is $2.1 million over budget right now, and almost the same over prior year. So same story. Are there any questions on this? If not, I'll just keep moving forward. Okay, the other statements that I also have to go over this month because it is a quarter end. Chris, the next one is we do have the accounts receivable reports in the board package. I wasn't going to really go over them. The only notable thing was what I just said about the grants receivable. We also have the quarterly investment report. This is something we need to provide quarterly. Can you see that one? Nope. You don't see a quarterly investment report? That's okay. It's in the board package. It's just a requirement for us to provide it to you. That's okay. And it's just the two money market accounts, the insurance reserve and our regular tax statement with the OSC impact statement. This is something we have to provide to the Office of State Comptroller quarterly, and this is only because of what's going on with the pandemic. It's because it has a negative impact on our 2021 budget. They ask that you show the revisions quarterly. This is something that has to be uploaded into Paris, and this basically looks just like the report I uploaded in December, or as of December, for the proposed budget book. These numbers are exactly the same. And the other reports we have in the package are reserves. No changes here. The cash flow report, and as you can see, on the net position, statement of net position, cash is at about 5.4 million, including the insurance reserve, we're at 7.9. Our MRT statement. As you can see, receipts in December, 1.7 million. All counties performed very well, with Onondaga being the one with the 1.3 million. And the last statements are the statement of borrowings. There's no borrowings at this time as of December 31st. All borrowings all loans were available, 5 million in the line of credit and 3.2 in the insurance reserve. And that's it for the statements I was going to show here. That one there, Chris, is for discussion. You can leave that up if you want. That'll go with one of the other motions. But that's it for the financial statements.
Very good report. Any other questions? Board members? If not, we'll move to the full board for adoption. Do I have a motion?
So moved, Darlene.
How about a second?
Second. Luella.
Thank you. Any other questions? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to a discussion we're going to have, what Linda's going to lead it, and for the increase in the board designated self-insurance reserve. Linda.
Thank you. Currently, our self-insurance reserve is at the $3.2 million level. We are asking the board to allow us to increase that reserve back to $4 million. This is the level it was back in 2006. And this is mainly due to our increasing liability premiums that we've already been experiencing.
I'm a big reserve person. I believe in reserves. I think it's good to have healthy reserves. It's nice to get us back. I think we're in a good position to take advantage of that. At this point, does anybody have any questions for Linda regarding increasing the reserve to $4 million? If not, I need a motion to move this to the full board for adoption.
So moved.
So moved.
Thank you. How about a second?
Bob made a second.
Darlene.
Okay. If there's no other questions, let's move our vote towards adoption. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
What is it? I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Nick, what is it?
Moving into the establishment of a board designated health insurance reserve. Linda.
As we discussed last month, we would like to establish a health insurance reserve, and we wanted to make it so it did not exceed $1.5 million. And this is basically due to the increases in the healthcare costs, as you know. Also, Jackie has pointed out last month that we have about 3 lasered claims at $500,000 each, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jackie, as of January 1st, this was a whole nother calendar year, so it starts all over again.
Correct.
So we don't know when these costs will hit, so putting aside $1.5 million into a funded insurance reserve would help us offset future costs and claims. So we're asking,
Remember,
go ahead.
we have a self-insured, we pay dollar for dollar, up to, what is it, the 200, what is the amount, Linda?
250,000.
First up.
But there's three cases.
250,000.
Yeah, there's three cases that she mentioned that, the excess insurance would not kick in at 250,000. It won't kick in until 500,000. So, which is another reason why we want to establish this reserve.
Good. Yeah, so, does anybody have any questions? I just want to remind everybody about self-insurance, we pay dollar for dollar up to that amount before stop loss kicks in. I think it's good fiscal planning to build up that reserve. Does anybody have any questions for Linda? Or Jackie? Or Brian? If not, I need a motion to bring it to the full board for adoption.
So moved.
Thank you. How about a second?
Second, Bob Suslin.
Second.
If there is no other questions, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on, we want to have a discussion on the maximum recommended pension contribution for the central defined benefit plan. Linda?
Yes, as Brian said in pension committee, we're looking to increase our pension contributions for this fiscal year. Instead of our normal minimum, which was budgeted at $3.3 million to contribute, we would like to do the maximum contribution, which would be an additional $1.6 million for this fiscal year. And we'd like to distribute that 70-30 between the non-salaried and salaried plans.
70% going into the non-salaried plan.
Once again, cash flow as well, we're in a decent fiscal position to establish this. I definitely agree with the philosophy here. It's prudent, good fiscal planning. Is there any questions for Brian or Linda or anybody else? I know Robert was about to say, I just give it, anybody else have any questions? If not, I need a motion to move it.
I'll move.
How about a second?
Second.
Thanks a lot. Any other questions? If not, a vote for adoption, I vote aye. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Very good. Linda, we're gonna move into, is there any other things before we go into the resolutions, Linda?
No, that completes what I wanted to report. You can move into the resolutions.
Okay. At this point, on Caitlin to discuss the consultant for the salary study.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everyone. So this is a resolution for the consultant for salary study. This will be paid for using operating funds. This request for proposal was publicly let on December 3rd. 31 proposal packages went out, 6 of which went to MWBE certified firms, and an additional 16 proposals were requested. On December 30th, we received 6 proposals, and the evaluation committee determined that Siegel offered the most advantageous proposal. They offered a price of $80,000 for the project. There is a full waiver for MWBE participation pending with Empire State Development. So it's my recommendation that the board award the consultant for salary study contract to Siegel.
Actually, I'd like to, prior to,
Brian?
prior to going to the motion, I want to point out that this is the second time we let this particular RFP. First time we did, we received 1 response. So I'd asked Caitlin to go back and look at our RFP process, which was in excess of 80 pages long, and to really take a deep dive into it and remove anything that wasn't actually required, make it easier for some bidders to submit proposals. She did a fantastic job. She got this document down to about 40 pages and relet it and let people know that we've made the bidding process a little smoother and easier. And she got 6 responses on this one, 4 of whom were highly qualified, 3 of whom were highly qualified. So I just want to point that out and let everybody know that, you know, she did a bang-up job on this to get that many proposals.
Brian, when was the last time it was called an AMTech study? When was the last time that study was done?
2002.
So we're looking at almost 20 years.
Yeah.
That's a long time. Questions? Caitlin, good job of getting more people to bid. Is there any questions that anybody has for Caitlin, Brian? If not, I need a motion to bring it to the board.
So moved, Darlene. Second, Tito.
Any questions? If not, all in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, Caitlin, we're gonna talk about the bus shelter and parking lot, janitorial services.
Yeah, this contract will be paid for using operating funds as well. This invitation to bid was publicly let on October 6th. We sent out 86 bid packages. 34 of those went to minority and women-owned business enterprises, and we had an additional 13 requests for bid packages. On October 28th, we received 5 bids, with the lowest responsible bidder being H2H Facility Services. They have requested a partial waiver for WBE participation that is currently pending with Empire State, and they will have a 15% MBE goal on this contract. So it's my recommendation that the board award the bus shelter and parking lot janitorial services contract to H2H Facility Services for the 5-year term.
Do you have any questions for Caitlin? It looks like it's pretty well laid out there in the resolution. If there's no questions, I need a motion to bring it to the full board.
So moved, Tito.
A second, please.
Darlene.
No other questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay. And finally, Tara's going to come forward, virtually. You're going to come forward and through the virtual way here. Tara's going to speak about the grant attachment to contract K007389.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This resolution is to authorize signature for attachment number 4 for New York State grant funding in the amount of $5,959,195. And this grant is earmarked for the purchase of 18 CNG buses.
Joe, you want to say comment on those buses? Joe DeGray?
I'm sorry, Nick, I didn't hear you.
Do you want to comment about these buses?
No, it's just part of our normal contract, and we're looking forward to getting the new vehicles in, but there's nothing to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Okay, with that being said, I need a motion to bring it to the full board.
So moved.
So moved, Darlene.
Thank you, Darlene. Second?
Aye.
Thank you. If no other questions, all in favor? Aye.
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 Linda, any other business to come forward to the Audit and Finance Committee?
No, that concludes our report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Great job. Brian, what do we want to do here? It's 10:46.
We can continue right on to the general meeting. Joe Hollywood here has informed me that we no longer have to take a break to separate the recording, so we're good.
Okay, folks. All right. I
Mr.
wanna
Chairman,
welcome everybody.
Nick, Bob has a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment about what we just went through, and I'd like to commend the finance team because it appears we're taking advantage of our cash flow to shore up our reserves, and shore up some of our obligations in the long-term pension. However, we need to still be aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, we're in the middle of a virus here, and cash flow coming in from the state and other government is still questionable. So we're not through the woods, it's just that because of the cash flow that came in, we're using it correctly to shore up what we needed to shore up anyways. So thank you, Linda.
Well said, Robert, well said. It was, Linda, Ryan, everybody's doing a fantastic job. Okay, with that being said, we're gonna move into our regular meeting. I wanna welcome everybody to the January 22nd meeting. Mark your calendars, our next meeting will be February 26th. We're gonna need an audit and finance committee at 9, and others if needed, to see what develops. With that being said, have a motion to approve the minutes of the December 18th, 2020 meeting.
So moved, Darrell.
Darlene, second, please. Thank you, Robert, second, thank you.
Yes.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, we're also gonna need a governance committee meeting for February.
Okay, so governance committee will be, also on that day too. Thanks, Brian. Moving into, audit and finance committee, this has all been, discussed in detail. Once again, excuse me, chief executive report. I don't have my A game on, folks. Once in a while I don't. Brian, chief executive.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in my report, I outlined the amount we've drawn down on the CARES Act funding so far. Fiscal year to date has been 23, actually not all fiscal year, but we've drawn down $23,206,000 so far. And we are on pace, I believe, to have that fully drawn down by the end of this fiscal year. As of the writing of this report, we had 39 employees out company-wide for various reasons, either testing positive or self-quarantining, or they were in close proximity to somebody that was positive and were ordered to quarantine. I'm happy to report that as that number kept going up, and we did peak at around 48 or 49, it is coming back down, and we're, even since this report, we're down to about 31 as of yesterday. We were approached by the governor's office. They wanted to open a mass vaccination site at SUNY Polytechnic in Utica. They were concerned that one of the parking lots was a little too far away from the building for anyone, for maybe some elderly or somebody using a mobility device, so they asked us to provide shuttle service. We went and surveyed the area, met with emergency management personnel, and decided to use a couple of call buses, and that service that we're providing 7 days a week, about 11 hours a day. Casey Martin did a great job, and Joe DeGray, and they got that up and running, and we haven't had any issues there.
Are you charging? It's free.
Yeah,
So
it's a free shuttle.
Good, because then it's not charged.
Ridership continues to be down approximately 55%. When you consider the, all the service, including paratransit, special line with the schools and the university, we're down about 70%. The latest stimulus at the end of 2020, federal government approved another stimulus package. The last one was the CARES Act. This one's called the Coronavirus Response and Relief Supplemental Appropriations Act. So.
CURSA, they're calling it.
CURSA is what they're calling it. So this included about $14 billion for transit. We've calculated our allocation will be around the $16 million range. And again, it'll be drawn down against expenses just like the CARES Act was. I want to make sure we take an opportunity to thank our congressional and Senate delegations, especially Senator Schumer and Representative Katko. They were both in contact with our office and very helpful in getting this passed. Also, on a separate note, legislation that was passed at the end of last year with the alternative fuel tax credit that we've relied on. And that'll bring us approximately $500,000 for our CNG gas usage. And then the last thing, wasn't in the report because it just came out, is you may have seen that the federal government, President Biden has signed an executive order requiring masks to be worn on all planes, trains, mass transit, buses, and excuse me, and federal property. We haven't seen the full executive order yet, so we're looking into that and discussing with our other transit partners up and down the thruway the enforceability of this. It's easier for like an MTA to enforce that because they have their own police. It'll be a challenge for us. We certainly don't want our operators to be getting in a situation where somebody becomes violent. If, excuse me, if they're refused a ride because they don't have a mask on. But we'll report back to you as we learn more. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Yeah, Brian, just so, or yourself, the original CARES Act draw, I know we spent just over 21 million. What was the original amount awarded?
Around 33, when you consider everything between the money we got directly and then some of the 5311 funds that were converted for the rural properties.
We also make sure, on behalf of management and the board, communication goes to Senator Schumer's office and the congressional delegation.
Yep.
And just thank them for their assistance.
Yeah, they're in the works.
Stuff out of me. I tried to get out of this. One of these days I will. Okay. Moving into audit and finance committee report, we had a meeting, and I even had a more involved meeting with Linda and her team, with Brian and Chris a week ago. And I think Rob up a lot of the moves that we're making here, how we're being good financially here right now for the authority's finances. With that being said, a motion was made to approve the finance report. Linda did a great job presented it. One of the biggest things, of course, was this increase that I'm very happy, and I know we all are, with the mortgage tax, which is good, because if it's a good tax, that means things are happening, things are being built, things are being sold, which is good for the economy and good for the various counties. With that being said, a motion was made to bring it to the full board. Could I have a motion to move this finance report?
So moved, Darlene.
Thank you, Darlene. How about a second?
Second, Bob.
Robert, if there's no other questions, all in favor? Aye.
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 Great. The next motion was to increase the board's designated self-insurance reserve fund to $4 million. We're bringing it back up to where it was. How many years ago was that, Linda?
It was back in 2006.
Wow, 2006. Okay, so we're bringing that back up to that $4 million. Great planning. Remember, we're self-insured, as I stated before. We pay dollar for dollar until the stop loss hits it. Had some catastrophic claims. You never know when it could happen. I know Jackie keeps us abreast of what's going on there. With that being said, a motion was made to bring it to the full board. I need a motion.
So moved, Luella.
Thank you, Luella. Second.
Darlene.
Thank you, Darlene. With no other questions, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We also discussed the establishment of a board-designated health insurance reserve. That motion was approved to bring it to the full board. I need a motion to move it at this point.
So moved. Darlene?
Second? Second?
Bob, second.
Hello.
Second. Second, thank you, Luella. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
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 Moving into, to increase contribution to the defined benefit plan. Once again, with fiscal planning, a motion was made to committee to bring it to the full board for adoption. At this point, I ask for a motion for its approval. Is there a motion?
Darlene?
Second?
Luella?
Thank you, Luella. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Caitlin presented to us one of our resolutions for a consultant for a salary study. It's probably getting near to 20 years, the information that we have. Caitlin and Dean, I think, did a nice job trying to lessen the burden of how complicated sometimes our packets are. And with that, after that was done, we were able to generate more people to bid on, more companies to bid on this. And after the process went through, to be the award contract to Siegel for the consultant for the salary study contract. A motion was made in the committee to move forward with adoption. At this point, I need a motion.
So moved, Bob.
Second.
Second, Darlene?
No. Any questions? With that being said, all in favor, aye.
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 Also, resolution 3C, Caitlin presented to us the bus shelter and parking lot janitorial service to award contract, a 5-year term for HT8 facility services commencing February 1st, 2021. A motion was made to bring it to the full board for adoption. Can I have a motion?
So moved, Tina.
Thank you, Gina. Second.
Darlene?
Thank you, Darlene. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
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 Moving on to resolution 3D, regarding our grant for the purchase of these CNG transit buses, in the amount of $5,959,195. Motion was made to bring it to the full board for approval of resolution 3D. With that being said, I need a motion.
So moved, Darlene?
Thank you, Joelle. Second, please.
Darlene?
Thanks, Darlene. Any questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I want to live there at 13. Job well done. And at this point, we're going to move on to our operations report. Mr. DeGray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have a couple of items to go over. This marks the end of the third quarter, December 31st, for our specialized transportation ridership statistics. We are still down about 40% in comparison to a year ago. However, it is starting to flatten out a little bit. So we are seeing a little more consistency within the ridership of our customers. And of course, winter has been pretty mild. So the next 3 months will be interesting to see if we can, if we're going to start increasing or we're going to maintain our coverage. We are doing a very good job regarding social distancing on the vehicles, trying to keep people separated, and that's gone very well. The staff down there does a good job at scheduling and making that happen. Second item is we had another promotion within our maintenance department. We look forward to this particular one. Pete McNaughton, who previously was our working foreman in our truck bus repair, which takes care of our fleets and it takes care of our small paratransit vehicles, has been promoted to manager of quality control for the fleet. It's an important position. It not only helps regulate what our our mechanics are doing, to make sure they're doing everything correctly, but it also ensures, or it's gonna help ensure, that buses aren't gonna be returning for repeat repairs. So Pete's very well qualified, and we expect and are looking forward to the great job he's gonna do. So we congratulate him. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Joe. You're doing a great job, your team. And once again, tell Pete congratulations on behalf of the board. We really appreciate the hard work for us. Really good. Super. With that being said, I want to move into the pension committee report. Robert.
Mr. Chairman, we had a pension committee meeting this morning. At that meeting, we reviewed the 3 pension plans: salaried, non-salaried, and the Utica plan. We reviewed performance against goals, and we reviewed the performance. We kept the structure the same, and no modifications were made, so no board action is required.
Good. Thank you for that report. Hopefully the market stays good and everything will stay good. At this point, let's have a report out from our legal committee. Joseph.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The legal committee met this morning in executive session where a legal matter was discussed and no actions were taken.
Very good. Thank you, Joe. Mr. Schultz, do we have any old business or the board? Any old business to discuss?
We do not.
Any future business to discuss?
No, we're all set.
Okay. With that being said, I want to wish everybody a good weekend. Let's stay safe. And looking forward to seeing you next month. Take care.
Thank you, everyone.
Motion to adjourn.